Hello, my name is Benjamin Hart. I'm an American attorney and the managing director of Integrity Legal here in Bangkok, Thailand. So it appears that our new prime minister here in Thailand, Mr. Anutin Charnvirakul, has chimed in regarding some matters involving banking, and I think in kind of an oblique way may have addressed some things that are concerning to the expat community, especially right now, but are increasingly becoming of concern to Thais. That is namely the so-called freezing of Thai bank accounts. I've done videos on this already. Everybody knows sort of my problems with it. That said, let's just jump in here. I thought of making this video after reading a recent article from The Nation. That's nationthailand.com. Article is titled, Thai PM calls on banks to inject liquidity as government seeks, quote, quick big win, unquote, economic recovery. Quoting directly, Thailand's Prime Minister Anutin Charnvirakul has called upon the nation's banking sector to dramatically increase liquidity injection into the economy, particularly targeting small and medium enterprises, SMEs, struggling with mounting debt burden and limited credit access. Speaking after Monday's high-level meeting with the Thai Bankers Association, the Prime Minister outlined the government's urgent need for financial sector cooperation to address what he described as Thailand's most pressing economic challenges: SME debt, household debt, and restricted credit accessibility. So one, I do commend Mr. Anutin for not taking a more, for lack of a better term, Keynesian-like approach where, oh, let's do it through government debt. No, let's go to the banking sector and say, hey, where you can you get some money out on the street, to use kind of some street slang, so that business can kind of get moving along. I like that. Can we grease the skids a little bit and get this thing moving? And we're talking about commercial banking here. So we're talking about loans into small to medium-sized enterprises that will actually be, oh, I don't know, enterprises, not the creation of a digital tracking system to track and trace all of our financial transactions with quote-unquote tokens that can be turned on and off and have a perimeter of usage, etc. So, hey, off to a good start compared to the last government that we had to deal with over here. That said, now I've done a bunch of videos recently talking about issues associated with just all of this freezing of bank accounts associated with so-called mule accounts. And I even did one contemporaneously with this video where I'm discussing stuff like the due process elements associated with, oh, it's a mule account and it sent money to another account, and now the money it sent money to is being frozen, and just all the problems inherent with that. I just, again, where's the due process in that? It just seems nonsensical to me. And I think if you read between the lines a little bit, I think maybe Mr. Anutin might be kind of aware of this as well. So going over here to Thai PBS, that's thaipbs.or.th, so it's Thai PBS World, it's world.thaipbs.or.th. Under the headline, PM urges banks to ease lending to SMEs, help household debtors. If you go to the last paragraph in that article, and I urge those who are watching this video, please go check out both of these articles for further edification on this topic. That said, quoting directly, he noted that what the government needs to do, however, is, quote, connect the dots, unquote, putting together separate pieces of information, events, and ideas to understand the big picture and solve the problems. So without saying so, you know, one thing I've noticed about Anutin over the years, he can be very precise in his language and be very politic in his use of language. He's not going out there saying, hey, stop shutting down everybody's bank accounts. That'll get money moving faster. And without going out there and saying, hey, stop capping out at 50,000 baht people's ability to transfer money digitally, he's saying maybe connect the dots, you know, understand the big picture, solve the problems, you know, put together separate pieces of information. You know, perhaps the reason there's a lack of liquidity is because you're freezing the accounts. Let's use those two words together in a sentence. A river is not going to be particularly liquid if it's frozen. You know, again, it makes some sense. Let's connect the dots, put it all together, and you can kind of see one quick way of figuring out how to stop the lack of liquidity would be everybody get off people's backs in the banking sector and let us all do business. And by the way, perhaps use actual investigative tools and due process of law before shutting down people's bank accounts, rather than what I can only surmise are just directions from some AI algorithm And to the best of my knowledge, no legal basis at all to shut these accounts down. I don't see where the legal authority is at to do that. But that being said, I find it interesting that, he uses this kind of roundabout language to say, hey, let's connect the dots and figure out how best to inject liquidity into this system. Now, that said, I may be reading too much into this. I don't think I am. I've watched him for a number of years. I think he kind of gets the bigger picture, if you will. That being said, it remains to be seen how this whole bank account freezing stuff plays out. We'll certainly be keeping you updated on this channel as the situation evolves.